Max Wilson, Public Affairs Director at Whitehouse Communications, a former Labour Special Advisor, and to Charlie Rowley, who's a former Special Advisor to Michael Gove, and also to Theresa May. Thanks both of you for joining us here on BBC News. Let's talk about today's manifesto launch first of all. Max, your take on that?
Really successful. Labour are going to be very pleased with how it's landed. There's been some conversation that it's been with very few surprises. Most of the announcements today have been long-trailed, long announced before, but that's absolutely fine. That is absolutely on brand for this campaign, not wanting to take any risks, so there's no need to take any risks. So I think Labour will be pleased that the overall message of change is getting through, but also of calm stability and Labour being ready for government.
Charlie?
Well, it's partly true, I think, what Max was saying there. There are no real surprises in terms of the announcements that have already been made. But I think there is a huge question, as Nick was just talking about a second ago, about the increase in the overall tax burden. And the charge against the Labour Party that's being put to them by the Conservatives is that, a vote for Labour is a vote for increase in your taxes. Now, they've ruled out no increase in national insurance, VAT, or income tax. But Sir Keir Starmer last night in the leaders' debate was unable to refuse increases in taxes elsewhere. Obviously didn't commit to cutting taxes. And we're now seeing poring over the numbers as to where that additional funding is going to come from to fund the public services and the things that are in the manifesto. So there are still questions to be asked, and I think the public will be interested in those answers. Yeah. The difficulty is that the Labour campaign has been very cautious, very calm, and very collected. They're 20 points ahead in the polls. They haven't shifted the dial because the Conservative campaign has generated headlines for all of the wrong reasons.
I'll come back to that in a second. Max, is Charlie right about tax? Because I was seeing one of those sort of word diagrams about what actually cuts through, and perhaps the only thing that's cut through so far appears to be that one word, taxes, for the Conservatives. So do you think there is still something there that may be troubling for Labour?
I think the Tories are going to be hoping that that is going to be a vulnerability, but I'm not sure it is really going to start to hit through. I think that the problem is that this current Tory government has raised taxes to the highest level in modern history. So fundamentally, the Tories are not on a strong position to be able to criticise Labour on this. Plus, the vast majority of, all of Labour's announcements today have been fully costed. And so they're making that argument over and over again. And I think that consistency of that messaging is really helping to propel the Labour campaign forward.
Charlie, in terms of the campaign, you were quite dismissive about the various things that had gone wrong. As an advisor, a former advisor, what has gone wrong, do you think? And at this stage, is there anything really they can do to get back on track and move the needle?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. And I think, look, the charge against the Labour Party has got to be about tax now. It's got to be about the economy. It's got to be about the very, very clear choice at this election where, yes, the tax burden has been at a record high, but the public will have to understand and be reminded.
Sure, but in a sense, and sorry to cut across you, but in a sense, they have been doing that, Rishi Sunak and others, from day one, and the polls haven't really shifted. So if that continues to be the case, what else is left?
Well, it's just not been effective enough, and Rishi Sunak hasn't been effective enough. He in the debate last night was countered some of the charges and the questions that were put to him, but you've got to be in control, and you've got to have told people, not just in the space when election's been called. You can't fatten a pig on market day, somebody once told me. So this narrative should have been set in months ago that, look, there are very difficult decisions that have had to be taken. It's a responsible Conservative government that's had to fund things like the furlough scheme because of COVID, protect people's energy bills because of Ukraine. If we can do all of those things, then of course when the economy takes a turn for the better, we can start to cut taxes. Now that's the narrative that the Conservatives should have been putting forward for months, and their manifesto announcement on Tuesday should have been the platform to then say, we've achieved everything that we've been telling you for months, not just in the space of a couple of weeks, what we said that we'd want to do or we would like to do. Yep. We're allow space collectively as a country to do that. Don't put all of that at risk because of Labour's tax rises. There just hasn't been enough run into that argument, I'm afraid. And I think, just very quickly in answer to your question about what the Tories can do between now and polling day, I think you need to see everybody play their part on the pitch. It's not just about Rishi Sunak, it's about David Cameron, who was out this morning, I know, doing very good, I thought, morning interview rounds. He will continue to be the Foreign Secretary versus somebody like David Manley.
I'm running out of time, so I'm going to try and whiz through a couple of final questions. Max, the point has been made by some that perhaps Labour's difficulties, the real difficulties, aren't winning the election. It comes 6 to 9 months in when perhaps some of the ambition needs to stretch to actually combat some of the issues. When Keir Starmer says the country is broken, well, fixing all of that. And of course, everything is predicated on growth. So those two things, the problems may come further down the track.
Yeah, but what a wonderful problem for Labour to have. And I think that's their focus at the moment, is very much on winning that election, winning that majority, and creating a really strong mandate for them to govern. To do that, they need to have as many MPs as possible, because the political realities will sink in over the next 6 months. I've no doubt that the budget is going to be very difficult when it comes in the autumn. So with Labour having hopefully done very well in this election, with some sort of large majority, that will make governing so much easier, including when it comes to those tough choices on tax and spending further down the line.
I've only got 45 seconds left, so you're going to have to be quick on this one. Is there a problem with mixed messaging? You have David Cameron, as you were referencing, saying they can still win this. You have others saying stop a massive Labour majority.
I think when you have such an electorate where there are so many people that are undecided, and where you see a party, whatever the party, I remember back in 2017, the Tories were 20 points ahead in the polls under Theresa May. People might just stay at home. So when you have a lot of people that are undecided, that might stay at home, where they think that there's going to be a Labour landslide, that don't want to bother to come out to vote, and the Tories can shore up their base through the policies that they've put forward, anything is possible.
Well, there we have to leave it. Charlie Rowley and Max Wilson, thanks both of you for joining us live on the programme. Another of the big set-piece debates happens with the 7 parties later this evening. We shall see if anything there moves the dial. But that's just about it from this afternoon's election programme.